Hello everybody and welcome to the Saori Sato Iceberg Part 2. I highly recommend you go watch Part 1 before you watch this video. Now let's just go right into it. We left off on Tier 4. No dialogue yet. I'm not sure why I put this so far in the iceberg. I feel like it should be on the first tier, but this refers to the Yandere Schoolgirls online feature. When you try talking to NPCs that don't have any coding yet, if you try to interact with them, it will just say no dialogue yet. Isolation chambers. This refers to the isolation chambers that you could find in Basement B if you really look hard enough. These isolation chambers don't have a role in the story. They're just there for no apparent reason, probably just for visual effect. Super Saori Sato. I believe this name was the name of the official Twitter account for the game itself. I remember coming across this account and it was the official account for the game. However, I looked back and I can't find it anymore. And when I look the name up, it does redirect me to some Twitter threads, I guess you can say. So I believe that it had something to do with Twitter, but if I'm remembering it wrong, let me know. Survival mode refers to a feature in the very old version of Saori Sato. This button was labeled Real Challenge. It was essentially kind of a pathway to the development of tactical schoolgirls. In short, this survival mode real challenge type of thing is a scrapped idea that was, I assume, later incorporated in tactical schoolgirls. Miku Salami is one of the most horrible characters. She has the worst attitude, I think, in the game. She indirectly and rudely helps us figure out more history of the school when we're playing. Most notably, helps us out with learning more about Akane Maki. Based on Miku's strange speaking style and strange speaking pattern, there is a theory that Miku was the victim of Akane Maki's discipline. In Akane Maki's diaries, she documented the isolation and discipline of one of the students. We do know that Akane used electroshock therapy and straitjackets, which could really mess up somebody in the head. And since we know that Akane ended up freeing this student, we might even say that Miku might be her. Or, it could not be her and it could be a completely different person, but it's just a theory. Schoolgirlsupervisor.com. This was the old domain for the official website for the game. I remember going on this website a couple times and I remember it just kind of being a sort of website to show progress, specifically for story mode, because story mode was the only thing that was really focused on back then. As of now, the website still exists, but it looks way different. It's focusing on different things and it's under a new name, which is Kurenai Games. Whips. Whips are whips that you can use on the NPCs. That sounds really messed up, and it is. I don't know why this is a thing in the game, but you can use whips to whip NPCs if they're too slow when walking when arrested. There is a soft whip and a hard whip. Yeah, we really needed two kinds. Red hair, red flag. In the official Discord server for the game, you can find a channel with deleted content. And one of these is a screenshot of the very early versions of the game, which showcases Saori with red hair along with some red flags. And obviously this was a scrapped idea because Saori's hair now is green and the flags of the school are teal, even though I would think they would be green to match Saori. Unlockable weapons. Now this one's pretty interesting. Back before App Store censorship, there were weapons that you could find in the front of the school, kinda like the old version of Yandere Simulator. But after App Store censorship happened and all of that stuff, the weapons were removed. However, recently in the Yandere Schoolgirls Online game, weapons actually spawn in after a while, and I didn't understand why, but apparently if you do a certain amount of quests or if you finish story mode, then you will get these weapons, which is honestly really cool. I really missed the weapons because I remember when the game had weapons before having to do any quests. Violent and sexual elements. So the violence really comes from the execution methods. There are execution machines and such all throughout this map. All of them don't work anymore, but they're still there. The violence really comes from that type of aspect, and really everything else. I mean, just the whole Akane Maki situation, finding her beheaded, it's all really violent. The sexual elements are very, very blatant, especially if you know this game by the back of your hand. The sexual themes that I'm really speaking about is references to underwear, like everywhere, even though it's not really needed. The moaning when you whip or off somebody with a weapon, and the fact that you can kiss an NPC and they'll just die like that. It's so weird. What happens in Sayama stays in Sayama. Now, I've heard of this, or at least I've read it somewhere, but I could not remember where it was from. So one of my Discord friends, Mina, helped me out with this one. This quote can be found in the photography room under the rules. It makes you wonder, why is this part of the rules in the photography club? It's pretty suspicious. You must stop swimming. From all the years that I've played this game, I have never encountered this message before. So again, Mina helped me out on this. She showed me a screenshot of one of the players playing the game and getting this message. This player is GegXweg. This person also helped out on the iceberg that influenced mine. What happened was, while they were swimming in the water in game, they pressed lethal and this message popped up. And it makes sense because lethal is an action that you do outside of water. It's basically off somebody. That's what lethal means. So, you can't really do that in water. So it really makes complete sense. But if they didn't say that they pressed lethal and that happened, it would be way more eerie. Because imagine if this message just showed up while you were just swimming. Like, it's really ominous. I wish that was the case. I think that would be so creepy and just unexplainable. I have a fear of deep oceans. I think it's called submechanophobia. I hate things underwater. It would be really creepy for me, at least, if this was true, if there was something in the water. Abandoned house. Now this one's also very interesting in my opinion. If you go to the Sayama forest in Yandere Schoolgirls Online and go to the highest mountain, you can see a tree stump of some sort and a bunch of locks kind of floating in the air. Now you're probably wondering, what is this? What was this? Well, actually, if you go to Wildlife, you can see a house right where this is. Now, considering that Wildlife doesn't allow flying because this is a later feature that is not on Wildlife, it was very hard to reach this house. There's a video on YouTube of somebody spending some time trying to reach this house just by walking. Now, as I'm actually recording the voiceover for this video, I realized there's a little Mandela effect in this. Could have sworn that this house was called the Abandoned House. However, it's actually the Forgotten House, because when I go on the game and I take a photo of it, it's officially named the Forgotten House. Considering that you can actually walk on this house, it's not like an asset that is, transparent to the player. You can actually walk on it. It's solid ground. It really makes you wonder, what was this house supposed to be for? If it was solid ground, you would expect it to not just be a little thing that's just for looks, but also something that you could possibly encounter. Saori's breathing. This is a feature that has been removed from the current version, which is Yandere Schoolgirls Online, but it's still found in Wildlife and every other version before it. What this refers to is when you run a certain amount of seconds, your character, Saori, will start to huff and puff. The only reason why I would think this was a feature was to feed into the realistic factor that everybody has to catch their breath after they run a couple of, inches. Now for the next 2 tiers coming up, we have another narrator.
Let's move on to Tier 5, starting with App Store censorship. As the name suggests, all Saori games were heavily censored on copies downloaded from the App Store due to its strict rules on iOS games. Features censored include blood, weapons, and executions. Next up are hate servers. Yep, you heard that right. Servers in the multiplayer mode of Yandere Schoolgirls Online for the purpose of getting freaky with other players.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man.
Like what you'd expect with a game filled with hormonal teenagers and preteens, these games take up a good chunk of the server list and are inhabited by some very interesting individuals with unique hobbies. Kawaii Miku and Cookie-chan were players of yandere schoolgirls who were beefing both in-game and on YouTube over various topics, such as no way belonging to the other, attitude towards each other's viewers, etc. Personally, it just reminds me of arguing with my friend back in elementary school, so I can't really take it seriously. The development blog is part of the past features of the old Kurenai Games website, or supervisorsato.com. It documents the progress of the game, although a lot of it is just no way sourcing over the old models.
Editing all here, I just realized that we skipped over exploiters. I am very sorry about that. Let me explain it here. Exploiters are a common discovery when joining multiplayer servers. These exploiters tend to mess with you in-game, and overall diminish a decent game experience. They are often spotted by their rainbow name tags and the killing that they do over and over again. I have gotten some weird stories about these exploiters from other players. It's recommended to stay away from these exploiters. Now back to the rest of the video.
The Cage, or Meet Kimi, is an unused quest accessed through the Solution Architect. There's no information on it other than the dialogue that activates the quest. Kimi Nakano asks the player if they can keep a secret, which they must respond with yes. Due to the name, it's possible it involves meeting Kimi in the basement or another area involving cages or enclosures. Guards are NPCs, typically without dialogue or relation to the game's story. These guards are typically scattered across the school, and there's quite a lot of them. Saori herself is also a type of guard. Of course, it's common for a school to have a few security guards to break up fights and keep students safe, but there's so many of them, it's really weird. One of the loading screens for the night shift scene of the game features a night version of the guillotine loading screen that features a mysterious blue-haired girl. She's not in the actual game, so no information is available about her or who she is. Akane's torture is possibly referring to the torture Akane went through while locked in the closet. The Polaroids, which we'll mention here in a minute, depict Akane being forced into humiliating poses and consuming mysterious substances. The strip club is a default map in Schoolgirl AI that No Way added. It's of course used in Heat servers, and is another reason No Way will never beat the Gunner allegations. The blocked corridor on floor 4 of Building B is an art project made by some students of Sayama High, with motive of discipline, which Ollie covered in the last video. In case you don't remember, the corridor is full of toilets and our bathroom items. The idea was that a misbehaving student would be forced to use these toilets in front of everyone else, humiliating them. Of course, it wasn't received well by students and staff alike, and was blocked off. Kaede's Nightmare is either an unfinished or unused quest that can be accessed through Solution Architect, in which Sayori must go to Kaede's apartment and find a girl in a bathtub, which is simply a placeholder T-posing Aoi swimsuit model with white hair. There's no way to complete the quest. Polaroid photos are 4 photos scattered across the map the player finds after Akane's death, starting with the first being found in Akane's hand. The contents of the photos are disturbing, but don't even come close to everything else Akane has suffered through. Another part of the strip club map, this building is covered in heart symbols and is simply full of bedrooms for some reason. Again, why does this game with an audience of primarily 12-year-old girls need this? The Lua toll reveals unused and unfinished quests you won't be able to find in a normal playthrough. It can also set quests that's finished or even activate them. There are 5 hidden quests found through this tool, including but not limited to Meet Kimi Nakano, Kaede's Nightmare, and a quest involving Kaito Yoshido. Akane's diary entries are also scattered across the map, detailing her guilt after torturing a schoolgirl until she became a shell of her former self. It's unknown who this girl is, or if she still attends Sayama, let alone if she's even still alive. It's implied this may have been one of the reasons Akane had a target on her back. Now we'll cover Tier 6. Kurenai Games is one of the many aliases No Way goes by. This one was probably to sound more professional or make himself seem Japanese. NopMat is a code in the bottom right corner of the blackboard on the title screen. It was possibly used to access Special Edition before it was locked behind a paywall. Of course, because it's No Way, this code is just tampon backwards. During the night shift quest, a howling is heard that scares Sayori. The player must go inspect the sound and discovers the same teddy bear stabbed to a locker that was found in the small shed by the guillotine near the beginning of the game. The period mechanism was an old mechanism in which blood would drip from Sayori's crotch as part of the old hygiene mechanism. Peter Kurosik is another alias, although I'm not sure if it's his real name or not. Panties are constantly referenced in the game, even from the moment you start a new save. Place your possessions. The icon for a loyalty point is a pair of new panties. The flag is a pair of panties. Yai Kamon even asks you to change panties as part of a quest. Weird shit. The game has an Amino community, of course, since most of this game's fan base was underage Yandere Simulator fans who spend 10 hours a day on Amino. Trust me, I was one of them. Secret dialogue, or barking, is a feature where NPCs will start barking confessions when duct taped and handcuffed. The special edition was an uncensored version of Saori Sato with every feature that was previously censored by the App Store and Play Store, along with some extra features. It's not extremely different, just that you can kill people again and access a very poorly edited nude skin probably designed by Noah himself. Noah's privacy policy states that his game take relevant info from users, that his games are intended to be played by those 13 and older, and pretty much anything else you would expect from a privacy policy. Aside Kaya is a supervisor succeeded by Akane Maki. She's mentioned by other NPCs when asked about Akane. Despite the loading screen tips saying quests can sometimes fail, there's only one time the player can fail a quest. Upon finding Akane and insisting on calling for help, the game will end as soon as Saori leaves the room. According to this game over screen, Akane kills herself after being rescued and only leaves a single note for Saori. Why didn't you listen? Fan-based mistreatment. Who didn't see it coming? Noe has a history of being an ungrateful head to his fans and being weird to underaged ones, even earning grooming allegations. The Miyagi sisters are twins, Mio and Migo, whose only lore is revealed through secret green text that floats over their heads. It's implied one has intense, unrequited feelings for the other. They don't have any dialogue other than the green text.
Hi, looks like we accidentally skipped another topic on the tier. Oops. The jumper tool is a tool that can be activated by check this box in the settings when you're in game. It allows you to easily teleport to certain areas. It's not intended for regular use, but it's very useful and I use it a lot, lol.
Hello, I'm back. Now let's go over the last tier. Finally, we're finally at the last tier. Incident / reference. So this may be a sensitive topic to some of you, so I apologize on that. So one of the more prominent things that you probably noticed as I'm speaking about this game on the Iceberg, and also from my other video, my first Saori Sato video, you'll notice that the old flag was red. Do you remember what was in the center of this flag? Some type of kanji, right? But what does it look like from afar? Something very reminiscent of something that is very offensive, which is the reference that I'm talking about. On top of this, I got a comment on my YouTube video on Saori Sato. I want you to read this comment. Now, from this comment, you can see that if you really think about it, this game has a lot of references to the German stuff that happened long ago, which can stem from the uniforms to the flags to the loyalty slogan. This person also incorporated some history from the Japanese, such as the ties with the Third Reich. I think that's how you say reach? I don't know. Just in general, showing that this kanji, which is in the game, meaning rice, can also kind of reference to the history. This person also mentioned the execution methods that could also be a reference as a whole to what we're talking about. Now again, like the comment says on the bottom, this is just a theory, but honestly, I know I can't say that it's true because I don't know. I'm not the developer himself, but honestly, it just feels all true. It feels like this could be the reason why things were. It's really a really good theory, so thank you for this comment. Now that we're actually talking about historical events, there's another thing that happened in this game that involves a historical event. I'm not sure what year this was in, but it was probably in the start or kind of after the start of Schoolgirl AI, which is the game where you can create assets of your own. Now I remember there was, I think, a group of people making these assets. Now, let me show you what this asset is. Now, tell me exactly what does this remind you of? This asset was made and it was used by a group of people who would join multiplayer servers wearing this along with a long white cloak-ish type of robe type of thing. And what does that really remind you of? Now, let me tell you, it's not Patrick in a ghost costume. You hear that? No way? You can't just assume that this is Patrick in a ghost costume.
Bruh.
People have seen them in game and they have reported them to No Way to be like, hey, can you ban these players? Can you take this asset off the store? But No Way being No Way, he said, oh, maybe it's Patrick in a ghost costume. What the hell? Moving on to Noe's grooming accusations. A player by the name of Cookie-chan used to be very active and even got Noe's attention. Noe had been reaching out privately to Cookie-chan. At this time, it's believed that Noe was 30 to 40 years old, while Cookie-chan was actually 13 to 14 years old. Noe would always offer Cookie-chan a place in his videos. He even has a video that has Cookie-chan is mine on the thumbnail, and it's him carrying Cookie-chan in-game. A while ago, Cookie-chan came out again under the name Malibu. She has proven that she's actually Cookie-chan by showing how she has access to the account. She has also shared some experiences here that I'll show on the screen that is really concerning regarding her and Noe. I got all of this information from a TikTok account that is dedicated to exposing Noe for his actions. But for legal reasons, we have to say that all of this is alleged stuff. However, it is adding up in the sense that it makes sense even though we don't have 100% proof, and it doesn't look well for him either. And you can't lie, even if he wasn't trying to groom somebody, he's really doing stuff that he shouldn't be doing with a minor. Even though it's virtual stuff, it is still stuff that you should not be doing. Stuff that shouldn't be normalized between a middle-aged developer and a child. Kawaii Miku is Noe. A long time ago, when the game really started to take off with its multiplayer servers, there used to be a player by the name of Kawaii Miku. It is speculated that Kawaii Miku is actually Noe in disguise. Now, this might seem like a stretch to you. However, if we think about it, who was one of the most prominent people that was featured in Noe's videos? That's right, Kawaii Miku. And guess what? Kawaii Miku has a YouTube channel where she plays this game, Saori Sato. People have said that Kawaii Miku actually connected to Noe's email address, which I don't really remember if that was true or not, and I don't think we have much information on that. But it has been said in the past, and I think it was true at one point, but then again, I'm not completely sure on that. If we look at Kawaii Miku's videos, every single video is Saori Sato. There's nothing else, no more content. That's all they play. Every single video also incorporates a bunch of emojis in it. And I don't know about you, but that doesn't really seem normal. I mean, I don't know anyone else who does that. I also remember seeing a live stream on the official YouTube channel for the Saori Sato game that incorporated Kawaii Miku. But the thing was, every time one person moved, the other would move after. So it's like they didn't really move at the same time. What does that really tell you? But to just conclude this, I'm not saying this is true because it might not be true for all we know. I feel like it's definitely leaning more to the true side. I mean, if you think about it, why wouldn't Noe act like a girl on YouTube to promote his own game? It just seems like something he would do. Next one we have is Saori Sato is a fetish game. What can I say about this? I mean, truly, you can guess what I mean by this. There's so many fetish content and fetish elements that really stand out in this game, even if you're not searching for it. The arresting, the duct taping, the handcuffing, the blindfolding, all of this stuff. The humiliation, torture, the way that you can contain students, high schoolers by the way, in cages. The fact that there's so many references to women and women hygiene, it's just unnecessary to say the least. There's also references to lesbians and other sexual orientations, which is fine, but when it's literally in your face all the time and every quest revolves around orientation like that, it just feels like fetishy. And it has always been this way ever since the beginning of the development of this game. And it's just truly a shame because a lot of people have grown up on this game not knowing or not realizing that this is all the developers' fetishes. I feel disgusted just by thinking that I used to grow up with this game and I didn't know all of this. It was really something that flew over a lot of our heads. Akane implied SA. Since I didn't know exactly what this one meant, I decided to go ask Mina because she was one of the people who was part of the making of this iceberg here. This topic on the iceberg refers to if you look in Akane's room where she was found, you'll find a couple items, most notably 2 brooms that are found on the floor that are pointed towards where Akane used to stand. In the game, there's actually an option to investigate every single object that is found in this room. When you press the brooms, Saori wonders if these brooms were used to torture her. This applies to the theory that Akane might have experienced SA in this room. Also, the fact that Akane was forced to drink urine is absolutely just something all in its own. So, this topic can also apply to that as well. Also consider the tray of blood on the floor. That begs the question of what really happened here in this room. The next things I have in this last tier are things that I don't think really belong in the last tier because it doesn't really match the level of everything else in this tier. So my bad, that's my fault. This is my first time making a official iceberg. I'm so sorry about that. I want to talk about both of these at the same time because they really mean the same thing. It's very clear that this game used to have old graphics. When you used to pull out the phone, it used to look like a real phone from the 2000s as the lighting was absolutely horrible and the old graphic shadows were way more realistic in my opinion. And I also think that the textures were less blurry. In all, I think that the old graphics were better graphics. It just felt more realistic. Wildlife still has some of those old graphics. For example, the camera. And this really ties into the fact that this game feels lonely. It really does. You're walking around this school by yourself. It feels like you might be being watched or followed, solely due to the fact that this game's graphics feel very unfinished. It kind of reminds me of the loneliness that Gmod can really give you, especially the default maps. The ambience in Saori Sato, along with Saori's breathing and everything else that really gives this game a unique feeling, is really all that I can say that contributes to this lonely feeling. And it still feels like this to this day, even though it's been updated and there's multiplayer servers, it still has that lonely aspect. Miwako Sato. Now, I don't think this also belongs in the last tier, but this was actually something I learned from Webbox on Discord. Miwako Sato was actually the scrapped name that Saori Sato was supposed to be named. Execution methods. Now, I already kind of briefly mentioned this before, but the execution methods were basically execution machines found all over the map of this game. All of these used to work. However, after App Store censorship, everything just kind of shut down and they were only left there for visual effect. The only place that you can really get these back is Special Edition. These execution machines didn't have any role in the story, and it looks like it just was kind of a desired feature for the developer himself, for his own sick fantasies. Storyline abandoned. This one is something I think everybody knows, but a lot of people still don't know, especially those who are new to the game and the fandom itself. If you don't know already, Saori Sato basically is abandoned. The whole point of it, the whole story. There's still a remake coming out. We know that already, but we already know that the new one isn't gonna follow the original. Yeah, it's gonna follow the same characters, but it's gonna take place in a different place, of course, and it's gonna be kind of told differently. In a sense, it's basically saying that this storyline is abandoned forever, unless somebody picks it up and continues it by themselves. It's a very, bittersweet feeling because just like many others who have grown up with this game, it just kind of feels a little bit sad to think that this game that we've been playing our whole lives is not going to be continued. That's the end of that tier, and that's the last tier, by the way. Thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you so much for waiting for this video to come out. However, before I end this video, I decided to incorporate a bonus entry to talk about some things that I didn't really consider to add on the iceberg, but is still very interesting to mention. First on the list, we have white-haired Saori. Now, if you play Wildlife and before everything loads in, you click story mode very fast, quest, you'll spawn in with white hair, and it's not like loaded or anything, so you basically have like a plain sheet of printer paper as hair. The next thing I wanted to mention was the Building G characters. They're part of the story as they help you with your supervisor quests and whatnot. Just like any other teacher here, they are part of the Sayama staff, but they seem to have a higher type of status compared to any other teacher found in Building A. I also wanted to talk about the principal. Now, the principal I don't think is really known yet, although if you do go to Building G in the principal's office, you'll see a couple people standing there, and one of them is in the middle, and I don't know if that's the principal or not, but I can't really say for sure because the game isn't finished and we never got a principal quest. Saori Sato Gallery. There used to be an app on the Android devices, and I don't think it was ever on iOS devices. It used to be called something along the lines of Saori Sato Gallery. This game didn't involve any gameplay at all. It was actually just filled with photos that you can't really access yourself. They were essentially bonus photos that you can have from the developer. I'm not sure if this is still on the Android App Store, but you can still find a video by, you guessed it, Kawaii Miku, which showcases every single photo on this app. The next thing I wanted to talk about is regarding the Lua jumper. Now, as we previously spoke about the Lua jumper kind of being a shortcut to teleporting around the map, there are some areas which you can teleport to that are broken, meaning they don't actually teleport you there and you're just stuck on a loading screen. These broken teleport spots are the last 5 in the list. These places are Lighthouse, Lighthouse Living House, Mill, Old and Moldy House, and again, Old and Moldy House. I'm not sure why there's 2 of the same, but all of these are broken. And some of these, I don't even know what they're referring to. The last bonus entry that I have for you is the usage of teddy bears. All throughout the story mode, at least, you'll find many teddy bears that have knives in them. It's kind of became a type of stereotype for this game because of the fact that it always incorporates teddy bears and knives. What does this really mean? I don't know. I mean, it might have a deeper meaning to it. Why teddy bears and why knives? Those were all the bonus entries, so I hope you enjoyed those. Thank you so much for Nova for being part of this video as they shared their narration with us, including sharing their art with us.